I like that song selection too. Thanks for coming, guys. If you weren't here last week, we started a series we just call He-Man, She-Woman, and as the landscape of this series, we're covering a number of different aspects of the man and woman dynamic and relationships and marriages and that sort of thing. Last week we started our starting block with a basic understanding of man and woman, and as we rehashed a little while ago while we were getting ready, Adam, for some unknown reason, chose some produce over the butt-naked care package from God. We still don't have that one all figured out. We looked at some ways that we dress and why we do that. And then we talked about some more basic understanding, ladies, men, both of us, why we are the way we are. We ended last week by talking about godly contentment, and that it can be the very thing that frustrates the plan of Satan to sabotage our lives, to develop godly contentment. And godly contentment can be the greatest way that you set yourself up for happily ever after. And the verse that we landed on was Isaiah 64:4, which I encourage all of you to put on your mirrors, memorize, and it closes out that passage of God's greatness with saying, God acts on behalf of those who wait for him. And this week we're going to look at dating. This is not going to be Jesus' version of 10 ways to get the guy or girl of your dreams. We're going to be looking at several passages in Proverbs. Most people know Proverbs as a book of wisdom, which it is. Many business people like the book of Proverbs because it is very business applicable. But I'm going to tell you, it's very relationship centered. And so we're going to look at a number of passages tonight. And this is not me telling you who to date. This is more, consider these things when you are in the process or you think you want to go into the process of dating. We're going to start straight out of the gate with the obvious. Think, why would you talk about something obvious if it's obvious? Well, because we have to have a place to start. The obvious part of the dating world is it seems for pretty much all of us, I don't know anybody that's gone into the dating world that this hasn't been true. Whatever you are looking for, it seems like it's slim pickings. And part of that is because we have been wired by God with filters that are unique to us. For me, I kind of knew that I was not going to find the girl of my dreams at Comic-Con. Like, it was just, I didn't have to question that a whole lot. I just kind of knew that some of our common human filters, ladies, we'll cover you first. You're, I think, more, you make sense a little more. The three filters most women look through are power, money, and looks. What does he do? What's his salary? And what's he look like? Men are, we kind of dumb it down a little bit. What's she look like? Who's her family? And, I'm sorry, did you say she was hot? Like, we talked about last week, guys are visual. And so this is what happens. Guys know this. Most guys know this. And so they want to make a lot of money. They want to have a nice-sounding job title. And they want to go to the gym. And so if you get what you're after, you get a gold-digging Barbie by that methodology. That's part of the reason that we're going into the dating world, so that she doesn't ruin your life, because that kind of person cares more about things than they do about your heart as a man. Ladies, knowing this, what happens is most women say, okay, 60% of the list was looks, and so you basically take yourself and you dress yourself up and you fix yourself to do what? To draw their attention to what? To your looks. Makes sense. You can't change families. You can't go to CarMax and say, hey, you want to buy mine even if I don't buy yours? That doesn't work. And so we basically have is, how can we repackage this person? And sorry for the illustration, but let's just say you go to the grocery store and you get a steak out of the meat section, and you take it home and you make it look all nice. I don't know what that looks like, but you maybe wrap a bow around it, whatever. You still have a piece of meat. There's two things that are always going to be drawn to pieces of meat, and it's wolves and maggots. And so pursuing that option, guys, you get a gold digging Barbie. Ladies, what you get is someone who is going to devour you or suck the life out of you by that method. And the sad news is the church is loaded with both, unfortunately. Women who have their hearts set on stuff and prominence and comfort above all, and men who are just there because there's women. Last week we talked about, and this we'll look at it again here, 1 Peter 3 and 4. Peter is writing this church, and he's trying to get something across to them, which is of critical importance. That's why we're looking at it again this week. It says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. With that scripture context, ladies, the mark of true beauty, I believe, is being able to look yourself in the mirror and know that who you are and what you look like is going to be someone else's happily ever after. And having what you feel like is a perfect appearance does not equate to a great marriage or a great sex life. They're not. Because if I know anything, I know that almost no women have ever looked in the mirror and liked what they've seen. It's just the nature of mirrors. Sorry. Yes, be healthy. If your doctor says you're perfectly sound in your health, let that be enough. Because that will be all your future husband needs. Guys, I'm going to go two scripture passages on you in Proverbs. This is actually the first and the last place in Proverbs where it talks about this person. And it says, he's talking about wisdom here, and he says, it will save you from the wayward from the adulteress, from the wayward wife with her seductive words. And the next passage is in Proverbs 22, verse 14. This is the last place she appears in Proverbs. It says, the mouth of an adulteress is a deep pit. He who is under the Lord's wrath will fall into it. Guys, we don't generally want to be beautiful. Some of us, I guess, do. We want to be the hero of the house. We want to be the hero that people know. And I'm going to tell you, the mark of true heroism, because I've seen it, is to be able to resist the sexuality of a woman who is both beautiful and unfamiliar. And we think that this person, this adulteress, that by the nature of an adulteress, is she's got to be married. She's not necessarily married. She may be. She may just be the one that's going to steal away somebody else's husband or someone else's boyfriend. And we think this is some kind of, Hollywood cougar driving around in a Mercedes with hot pink lipstick and her vanity license plate says, got 'em. We think it's going to be something obvious like that. When I was in New Jersey, I said, last series, I would commute in once a week to New York City for my job, and I was taking a training class one day, and it was right off Wall Street, on the second floor of this little conference room, and I don't even remember what it was on, but I remember it just totally caught me off guard because I wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this conversation out of the corner of my ear, and I'm like, wait, what? And you don't get enough of the conversation to really know the full story, but you get enough of the conversation that it just kind of makes you sick. And it's this girl who was my age at the time, mid-20s, and she is talking about a married coworker that she has that she is fixated on having sex with, having an affair with him. I didn't get the conversation if he had a family. I'm going to bet he may have had a small child, and her goal was to seduce him into having sex with her. Okay? She said, I will never forget this. She said, my goal is to break him. And I wanted to throw up. And it's one of those moments I wish I could transport back to there and just say, you are the face of evil if there ever was one. Your goal is to ruin someone's life, their family, their future, their reputation. That is your goal. Go up to the top of the building and throw yourself off and do us all a favor. I mean, it's just sickening me. And she's sharing this with her coworkers, and not one of them said something to her about it. These people that Proverbs, that Solomon was writing about, they are around today. And if you are not vigilant, they will do exactly what Solomon says, that they will bring God's wrath upon you. So the pickings are slim. And it is only natural to wonder if then our standards should be lowered or our filters should be modified. And I'm not going to tell you whether they should or shouldn't because I don't know what they are. But I will tell you, you will have a happier, more peaceful, more satisfying life being single than compromising and being stuck with the wrong person. So if that's you, I would just say, simple question for yourself. Again, I'm not going to tell you who to date, what to do, whatever. But is happily ever after worth another 2 years of singleness or 5 years or 10 years? If you could have 40 or 50 or 60 with the person that God will bring alongside you and act on your behalf if you wait for him. It seems like an easy trade, but I know it is difficult. So that was the obvious. The second thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the bait. The bait is also kind of obvious. Most often is our physical appearance. It is how we present ourselves. That may come in tandem with, the kind of car we choose to drive, or the kind of house we choose to live in, or the type of job we choose to have. Doesn't necessarily mean that, but as a category of appearance, we're going to kind of address it from that angle. And the question is this: are you intentionally trying to appear more attractive than you feel you are? And why? Because like last week, we talked about the accountability issue and the responsibility issue of, and it's typically men towards women, but it's not always. Sometimes it goes back the other way of, guys are just dogs. Guys just look at women and gawk at women, and they need to control themselves if they have a problem with it. And our question was not who's liable for this. The question is, do you care if you're drawing someone's attention away from their spouse because of the wardrobe you chose? That's the heart of the issue. The heart of the issue with our appearance here is, are you intentionally trying to appear more attractive than you feel you are? Whether it's a financial decision you make to make yourself seem more successful, whether it's a way you dress, makeup, runs the gamut. And the reason we're talking about this in conjunction with dating is it's so important. How you address the bait issue now is going to carry over into married life. So let me give you an example. And I don't want to be inappropriate here, but if you've been around more than maybe a month on planet Earth, you've probably seen this. A well-endowed wife wears a tank top to the gym to work out. As she's leaving, the husband says that he's not comfortable with her wearing just that out in public. Even if it is, she's just going to the gym, just one place. The wife says she doesn't care. It's comfortable, and have you been to the gym? Everyone else is wearing the same thing. Do you think their marriage stands a chance? Do you think that breeds an attitude between the two of them that this is a woman who will come alongside me and join with me in the big things of life? if something like that, she's like, no. I was watching and the other side of that is, does that motivate the husband to lead? You know, he may just decide, okay, I'm just going to sit in the chair and choose not to lead. That's his fault. You know, it needs to be addressed early on. I was at I don't remember where it was, but it was a couple years ago, and I was somewhere by a pool. I just remember there was a pool in the background. And there was this girl who is there, and it was one of, the nice pools where they got the palm trees and, all that stuff around and whatever. And she's got her little cocktail umbrella drink thing, and with the little bendy straw. I mean, can we just be honest? Bendy straws need to be in all drinks. They make everything taste better. So she is sitting there taking a selfie, and for those of you listening, you can't see the facial expression. She's doing like the pouting face with the straw, like she's doing that, taking a selfie. And I'm looking at this like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Because I know what she's going to do. She's going to post something on her Facebook page about how, life is so hard when you're at the pool with this. And I'm like, why don't you let me take the picture, and we'll get the fat dude in the deep end doing water aerobics in the picture, okay? Let's take a panoramic and give everybody the full scope of what we're looking at here. You know what? Peter said, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, the braided hair, the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. Instead, it should be that of your inner self, because your inner self is unfading, and it is of great worth in God's sight. Next slide. This selfie nation that we're creating, we've embraced, does not promote, grow, or enhance a spirit that is of great worth in God's sight. I'm going to read that again because it needs to be read again. Our selfie nation has been embraced as one, and it does not promote, grow, or enhance a spirit that is of great worth in God's sight. It promotes me, myself, and how many likes I can get to make me feel more valued, because I don't feel valuable. That is what is behind all of it, is you don't feel valuable enough as is. You have to be validated by people clicking their mouse. How pathetic are we, honestly? We may sing, get me started another time, Christ is enough for me. But if that's you, He's not. You can sing Christ is enough for me all day long, but if that's you, and if that becomes me, my life demonstrates He's not. So that's the bait. So our appearance, how we address that is critical for not just singleness and dating, but it will carry into marriage. Then comes the switch. And the switch is where I kind of start giving what I think is practical advice. You may think it's ridiculous, but that's your opinion. And I just kind of coined this little phrase, flip the switch before you get turned on. Hey, it makes sense to me. Let me tell you how the first date typically goes in America. Depending on your income or your parents' income, if they're funding your dating life, which should be the first reason you don't date, you go to Olive Garden or Chili's or Panera, or maybe you go out to Starbucks, and then there's usually a movie or something kind of like that. And that's generally a first date, maybe second date, maybe a combination of the first two dates. Can I give you a practical, personal recommendation? This isn't right or wrong. I'm just saying, if you choose to do or not do this, I'm just saying, hear me out. my recommendation, first or second date, get your no compromise stuff out. There's no emotional attachment. You don't have to cry on the phone to your best friend for a week because you waited for 2 years until you were madly in love with this person, and then you decide they don't really like kids, and you want 4. I know people that have done this, where you get so involved in the relationship, and that is where you become willing to compromise the desires of your heart, and then guess what happens? You get that root of bitterness just kind of creeping in. And then when life doesn't go as you think married life should go, that grows like nobody's business. So I recommend no compromise stuff, first or second date. Things like, hey, do you know Jesus? Tell me about your walk with Christ. Do you tithe? Do you want kids? How many do you want? Because I'm not planning on living in a mansion, and you can only bunk so many beds according to building code. What is your desire for work? I mean, if you desire, this is, again, stereotypically, historically, whatever, if the husband is able to support the family, the wife can stay home with the kids. Some women don't want to do that, and that's fine. I mean, do you want to have a job? Do you want to stay home? Do you care? Husband too. Husband's like, yes, I want to stay home. Until you stay home with the kids and they poop all over you. Where do you want to live? I mean, some people really don't care where they want to live. Some people want to live, within a 3-mile radius of their parents. That's a no compromise thing for some people. Whatever that is, it is a non-emotional decision, first or second date. And if there's not alignment, hey, no hard feelings. It's a perfectly acceptable way to enter a dating relationship as an adult. That said, big, not disclosure, what am I, caveat here. Because you are aligned on no compromise stuff does not mean that you are meant to be. There are lots of people in this church that I would say I'm probably aligned with on no compromise things, on my no compromise things, that I would want to murder after about 3 days. Okay? Not really, but probably. Just because you agree on the big stuff does not mean your personalities are going to mesh, your families are going to mesh. It doesn't mean that's right. So, again, personal recommendation. I try to keep things simple and memorable. And I just say, look for the LLC. The first L is low maintenance. Low maintenance people are always fun to be around. I've never met a low maintenance person. Now, low maintenance does not equal lazy. Okay, low maintenance just means, hey, we're not going to get too riled up. We're going to have fun. We're going to just enjoy life. Second is laughter. It's easy to laugh together. Because I'm going to tell you, if you don't have someone that you can laugh with, your marriage and your dating life is just going to be, it's not going to be all it could be. I'm not going to say you're going to be miserable, but I'm going to say laughter is a big thing. And the third thing is conversations. Conversations should be easy with the person that God has prepared for you. Not everybody is a super extrovert. Not everybody's an introvert. Not everybody's the right combination for each other. But these are 3 areas that are easy filters to look for when you're starting that dating relationship. You will spend more time talking to this person than you will anyone else the rest of your life. So if conversations are not easy, just be warned. Amber and I, when we met, I think it was like 2 or 3 months. We didn't watch any TV. I think the kids made us watch Nacho Libre twice, I think. But we didn't watch any movies or TV on our own for several months because we would just sit there. Sometimes we would sit down like we were going to watch something. And you're like, you want to watch something? I don't really want to watch something. And we'd sit there and we'd talk on the couch for 3 hours because it was just that easy for both of us. LLC, low maintenance, laughter, and conversations. And now we go into the dance of dating. Couple things I advise, and we'll tackle this by the gender. Ladies always go first. Ladies, couple things to consider in dating. One, have an opinion. Okay? Whatever is not going to be fine forever in your marriage. So get started now with having an opinion. Learn to express it. Agree and disagree. There are hills to die on. Okay? There are opinions that you can express where you say, that didn't really go well, and I don't really think, that just gives me a bad flavor of where this relationship's going to go. That's fine. I don't think it's whether or not they decide you wanted a Coke and they brought you a Pepsi. I don't think it's, Mexican or Sonic. They're both going to put you in the bathroom in about 30 minutes, so just be direct, but be gentle, okay? Proverbs 11:22. I told you we're going to spend most of the evening in Proverbs. It says, like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman, a woman who shows no discretion. Couple things in this. My personal opinion, never, ever, no, ever cleavage on dates. Just keep that covered. And you say, oh, why is this such a big deal? We talked about a little bit last week. You can listen to the message online last week. But you're taking what God has made holy and beautiful to the female, to woman, and you're making it common. You're just putting it out there. Second thing in that regard, if you can tell what kind of underwear you're wearing by looking in the mirror, you need to change pants or go shopping for new ones. I just gave you an opportunity to go shopping. You should thank me. Ladies, if he doesn't open doors for you, I know some people think that's outdated. Look, if he doesn't open doors for you or show the basic nature of your dating relationship with having a servant's heart, he is not ready to be dating anyone, much less you. The passage in Proverbs, some of us were just in Uganda. You got to see some of the pigs. Look, pigs are interesting in pictures. Pigs you get a little bit better sense of when you're around them and they're the size of you and there's like 9 of them. How stupid would it be for someone to put something as precious and valuable as gold in the nose of one of those animals when they just sit there? And if you've never seen a pig wallow in the mud, waller down here, it makes this passage of Scripture, get legs and a curly little tail, okay, and go wee, wee, wee all the home. Please, just ask yourself, is how I'm appearing showing discretion in my dating relationship? Guys, some things to consider. When you open car doors for her, does she attempt to unlock yours? Now, some cars, you unlock hers, it'll unlock automatically. Some, you push the little thing. I'd encourage you, the first couple dates, to give her a test run the old-fashioned way. Because honestly, that is a very telling sign with whether or not she considers you in the small things. There was a guy I knew several years ago. His name was Randy, and he was married at the time, and he did that for his wife. She got in the car. He's walking around the car. A couple guys are watching him in the parking lot, and he kind of looks up at him, and he's just kind of does the head nod, hey, and the guys looked at him, and they just go, gangsta. He was like, I always wanted to be known as gangsta, So all of us want that. So Joe, open car doors. Second thing, if there is some sort of abnormal behavior, okay? I like to use this example because I think it's hilarious and it's also very applicable. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the J'adore commercial the only one I've ever seen where the girl's walking down the palace like this, and she's got earrings flying off and necklace, and then there's shoes kicking off, and the next thing you know, she's somewhere down the hall, probably naked, and if you ever see that look on a woman's face, run. She has the rabies, okay? That is not normal. I've never seen that in natural life. Abnormal behaviors. Even if she's hot, probably not a good idea. When, you need to write these down, okay? When you give her an honest compliment, does she follow it with something like, and what else? Some of you think that's funny. I know people this has happened to. If she says something like that, nothing will ever be enough. It's, again, like the car door. It's a small thing that says a big message. If she never tries to pay for lunch, coffee, dinner, I'm not saying she should pay. She shouldn't pay all the time. If she never offers or attempts, she's going to run you into the ground. Okay? Now, if you're 3 years into a relationship and it's basically established, I'm picking up our date tab, that's fine. I'm talking, that first window of time. Okay? Next passage in Proverbs 19:13. It says, a foolish son is his father's ruin, and a quarrelsome wife is like a constant dripping. Proverbs 19:13. This is going back to the low maintenance. If she is picky and high maintenance, look, you can have opinions, you can have certain things that you like a certain way, but when it covers lots of areas of life, it's called high maintenance. Guys, if you think that's fine, if she's like, this bombshell that you just can't let go, I'm just going to tell you, turn on a faucet next to your bedroom and see how long you can take it without going through the roof. Because that's what you're signing up for. Guys, when you consider dating, what are you doing right now to prepare to leave a family? Because that doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy. It's not sometimes fun. A couple practical things. Pick up a copy of the 5 Love Languages if you've never read that. That is good for all relationships, especially family and marriage relationships. You can look up a number of resources on Focus on the Family. You can get involved with a small group that is tackling issues regarding family and marriage and things like that. Before you get there, give yourself a head start. But to do nothing and to expect to succeed is ridiculous. So, for both, equal opportunity. Are you working? I can't remember what passage it was, but I just read a passage in Scripture today that basically says, you don't work, you don't eat. It's not your parents' responsibility to pay for you up until you're married, especially after you're married, unless they don't give you an option like Amber's parents when we go out to eat. They've just basically take our wallets and throw them away. So, and we love them. If you're dating someone or considering dating and you don't yet have the responsibility to an employer for handling a specified job a few hours a day, how can you possibly think that you're ready to handle another person in that relationship that could be potentially 24/7? Next thing, do you have debt? FYI, if you weren't aware, debt is a major cancer in relationships. And none of us would have cancer, know we had cancer, and delay getting it treated. So if you have debt, are you working to pay it off? Here's a fun one. How much TV do you watch? You say, well, everybody watches about half of what they think they actually watch, or everybody thinks they watch about half of what they actually watch. So think about this. You say, oh, we'll just TV. Oh, we watch the same program, at Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock. We'll just decide. We'll just decide. Somebody will TiVo it. They'll get to watch, I just love you so much. We'll watch your show, and I'll watch my show tomorrow. That's going to be fine until the first time Tuesday at 8 o'clock comes up and there is something awry in the household, and we always watch your show. It's my time now. No, you can't just change it because now you're upset, okay? How much TV do you watch? Are you married to your programs? Because I'm telling you, that type of stuff will launch World War III if you let it. While we're on the subject of TV, I made the decision well over a year ago that when I died, I was fairly certain I was not going to say on my deathbed, I wish I had watched more television. Pretty sure I'm not going to say that. And I'm not going to put that on you. I'm just going to say, when was the last time that someone enriched your life by something they rehashed that they had seen on television? Not saying it doesn't happen, just a question. Do you have a quiet time? What is God teaching or impressing on you? Because if you're just reading and God's not teaching you anything, there's not anything that's really, strumming your heart. I'm not saying that you don't go through dry periods in that. I'm just saying, do you have a quiet time? What's the best book you've ever read in the last year? Okay? Because guess what? All marriage counseling that's worth a flip is like 4 to 6 books that are required reading. So if you hate reading, if your fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, if they I hate reading, that's going to be a fun experience, right? I'm sorry. You want me to read 6 books to get married? I mean, you know what you're going to think? Well, am I not worth it? They're going to have fun with that conversation. What's the best book you've read in the last year? Good filter for the dating world. Here's one that I have done, and this is not fun. Ask your closest friends what your biggest weakness is. Because guess what? It's going to be your biggest weakness in your dating and your marriage life. It doesn't go away. Start working on that element of your life and your character and your personality, whatever it is, while you have this relational buffer we know as singleness. God has given you this time and space in life to work on yourself while He's preparing that person for you. Because your biggest weakness now will be your biggest weakness in your marriage. Practical one, if you have been dating someone for a year or two and you don't know if they're the one, you know they're not the one. I read a article recently by the editor of Charisma Magazine, and the title of it was The Lies the Church Tells Women. And I thought it was interesting, and I'm sure he got some feedback from it, but this was a guy writing it. And I haven't read a lot of his stuff. From what I read, I'm not overly impressed, but the number one lie that he says the church tells women is that God's ultimate plan for women is that they serve their husbands. And I read that, and I said, no, it's not. Because God's ultimate plan for the wife is to serve her husband, and God's ultimate plan for the husband is to love and serve their wife. And it's a beautiful picture when that happens, because that's basically how He designed it. That's basically what Scripture says. I mean, you understand, Jesus washed people's feet. That was the job of a slave child. How much lower can you get? I'll tell you how much lower you can get, because it's kind of on the same level in the culture and day. At the end of Jesus' appearance in Scripture, when the disciples are out, we talked about this in the last series. The disciples are out fishing. This is the morning, and Jesus is making breakfast. Guess what? Guess who didn't cook at all, almost ever in this culture? It was the men. This was a women cook society. And Jesus is there cooking breakfast after he's washed their feet. Jesus is taking on these roles of servanthood that are completely unique. So in this context of dating, for both guys and girls, does this person have a disposition of servanthood? Because that is God's ultimate plan for you as a wife, and that is God's ultimate plan for you as a husband. And it looks beautiful when it comes together. And the last passage we're going to look at Proverbs is in chapter 4, verse 20 and 23. And this is just if you could give one just message to your child. Solomon says, "My son, pay attention to what I say. Listen closely to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life for those who find them, and health to a whole man's body. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life." Now, I want you to think of the most happy, healthy, married couple you know. Just get them in your head. Most healthy, happily married couple that you know. Think in your mind, how many of them do you think make more than $100,000 a year? I'm going to guess maybe one or two of us. So it's possible to make a lot of money and to be in a healthy, happy marriage. How many have the term president, vice president on their business cards? Again, maybe one or two. So it's possible to have a position of power and prestige and prominence and influence and to have a healthy and happy marriage. How many go to the gym and work out on a regular basis? Maybe a few more. But how many seem to have a consistent regard for the life, health, and well-being of their spouse? And I would say everyone would say yes. Do you think that's because their spouse makes a lot of money, has great influence and power, has a six-pack, has great legs, has a nice tan? No. It's because they have discovered an unfading beauty that is both of great worth in God's sight and is of great gain for their spouse. It's because they look to guard the heart of their spouse in the same manner and fashion that they would guard their own. I remember a couple incidents years ago. Tiger Woods got married to Elin, when Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson got married, and you're just thinking, if these people can't make it work, if these people can't go the distance, honestly, some of the most beautiful people on the planet that have more money than you would ever know what to do with, that are the elite few years, both of them. I was talking with somebody 2 years ago. We were on a car ride back from Atlanta. Somebody that's not a believer and is in a relationship, living with somebody. And I try to, as somebody I work with, I try to be delicate but direct with some things. And I said something to him that just kind of, it's one of those things that I thought finally landed somewhere in his heart. And I said, when you look to date, when you look to marry the person, not the package. Because the package is susceptible to time, sunlight, loss of income, whatever. A good filter in knowing if this person is the person that God has prepared for me, is this question. Would I still date and marry this person if I could never have sex with them? Do you enjoy the person that much that the package is just a bonus? No one buys a movie to see what the bonus features are at the end. Bonus features are just that. They're just bonus. You buy the movie for the main feature. Because that person, that package, is going to change. It is the laws of nature. It is the laws of a fallen world. But that the hope is that the person inside has that unfading beauty, that you can look at them in 30, 40, 50 years and say, it's the same gorgeous person. And of all the things I tell Amber, and this was not preparing for this series, and she would tell you that, the thing that she hears the most from me is not that I think you're beautiful, not that you look great in that, is I love who you are. More than anything else, I tell her, I say, I love who she is. Some of us are possibly not ready to be going on a date, much less considering a relationship, full-time, or marriage. Because you're not content with who you are. How can you and I expect someone to love and want us when we don't love who we are? If that strikes a chord, look, there's no rush to date. The person that God is preparing for you, He'll keep them waiting. And when they come to you, they'll be like, did you really have to keep me waiting? Yeah, because you know what? I'm so much better for it. So we're going to close out tonight a little differently. We're just going to have one song, and then you'll be dismissed. And of all the things we covered, I just want to ask this. Wherever you are, what might God be trying to get your attention about tonight? Because we're all in different places. We're all different stages of life, relationships, singleness, whatever. Of all the things we covered, what might God be wanting to get your attention about tonight? And would you just have this song as just a time of reflection and worship, that He would be speaking to you? Because you know, Isaiah 64:4, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, this great God who acts on behalf of those who wait for Him. So God, that is our prayer. That if there are people that hear my voice that are rushing, and they know in their hearts they are rushing, that you would just bring that conviction. Only you can do. They would just slow down and know that they cannot miss the one that you have prepared for them. God, I pray that for all of us, that you would give us that supernatural filter, Lord, we would be able to not compromise what you have laid within our hearts, but that we would look at the person through the package. And that those of us who have yet to find that person and fall in love with that person and commit our lives to that person, that as it was so abundantly clear for me and for Amber when that happened, that it would be so abundantly clear for them through whatever process you take. That there would be peace and joy and fulfillment and contentment in the waiting. And we ask this in Jesus' name.